Welcome to the Essential 99 Punctuation Rules for Court Reporters, video number 13, the comma part 6. I'm Ken Wick. Let's get started. So this video covers the comma, and specifically ebook rules 15 to 17, which are coordinate adjectives, titles and degrees that follow a personal name, junior and senior that follow a personal name, and numbered references. So rule number 15, use a comma to separate two adjectives that equally modify the following noun. So what does equally mean? Well, here's two examples. She bought a sleek, shiny car, and he has always been a faithful, sincere friend. So sleek and shiny are coordinate adjectives. They equally modify car, and faithful and sincere are coordinate adjectives which equally modify friend. So basically, coordinate adjectives describe the same quality. Opinion. Seems like a lot of the coordinate adjectives are opinion. That's why I put it in red. So examples are beautiful and fine. They can describe size, round or square, age, old, new, color, red and blue, green, yellow, or origin, German, American, Spanish, etc. And material, wood and stone. So that's what it is. So you separate them when they come from the same quality: opinion, size, age, color, origin, or material. Coordinate adjectives can also answer yes to the following two questions. Can and be sensibly inserted between the adjectives? And can the adjectives be sensibly reversed? So basically there's two main ways, if we back up, to determine a coordinate adjective. You can look at them and say, oh, they're the same quality, and just mentally have this, in your head. And also you can go to this test of being able to insert and or reverse the adjectives. Usually there's just two adjectives. You can technically have more than two, but generally you only see two. So let's do the first example. The first example was she bought a sleek, shiny car. So let's use a test. She bought a sleek and shiny car. That seems sensible. And she bought a shiny, sleek car. Yes, that seems sensible. And sometimes this is where being a native English speaker really helps, because if what you're doing is reading that and saying, does that make sense? So sensibly means you have some degree of familiar, or you're familiar with the language enough to know if it sounds right or wrong. Because I really don't define sensibly, it's just to the ear. So both of those sound fine to my ear. Up to the next example. He was always a faithful, sincere friend. Test number 1, can you stick and between them? He has always been a faithful and sincere friend. Well, yes. Test number 2, he has always been a sincere, faithful friend. Sounds good to me. So I'm going to say that in both examples, these are coordinate adjectives, because one, they describe the same quality, and two, they pass this test. So adjectives that are not coordinate are cumulative adjectives and do not take a comma because they describe different qualities. So an example would be, I sold an old black bear. Now I forgot to say, I'm doing this, I put this as a and and you'll see probably the in red, because to me this is a trigger word, because I know anything between an and or the, which are called articles in English, and the noun are adjectives. So right away I know I have to determine if old and black, if they're coordinate adjectives or the cumulative adjectives. So in this case they're cumulative adjectives because they actually describe different qualities. Old is an opinion, and black is a color. So since we know they describe two different qualities, I know they're automatically cumulative. This is usually the way I determine them, because sometimes when I do the test, I sometimes go, well, I don't know, maybe I could say that. It may seem a little odd, but maybe you could say that. So let's do the test, the coordinate adjective test on this above example of we saw an old black bear. We saw an old and black bear. You know, the problem is black bear is usually a type of bear. Brown bears, black bears. But anyways, old is an opinion and black is a color. So we sold an old and black bear. I'm going to say seems reasonable. We saw a black old bear. Now this is where it's going to fail the test, because this should not sound sensible to a native English speaker. They should be reversed. If you don't know, if you actually go look up in the grammar books, English prefers a certain order to these, like material, color, size. We actually prefer a certain order to the adjectives. So, but English changes. So we can actually be saying them in different orders, and maybe, in 20 years this may make sense, or this may not be a problem. But right now we saw a black old bear isn't really ringing true in English. But someone could actually, say, oh, I read both of these and they seemed sensible to me. So that's why I always usually back up to the test of if they're describing different qualities. And probably the biggest test is always sticking and in between these. I don't know, it seems to be, when you stick an and, it kills a lot of them. But in this case, this one seemed okay, at least to me. So that's so I covered coordinate adjectives, and then if they're not coordinate, they're cumulative, and it's all based upon quality. What quality are they describing? Same quality, use a comma. They describe a different quality, no comma. And then you have the test. So then some more examples of we ate German chocolate cake. The warning, or to me a signal, the between cake. I know these are adjectives. German is origin, chocolate is material. So since I know these are two different qualities, I know that they have to be cumulative. We could do the test. I'm not going to do the test. You can do the test. Stop, pause the video, and do this test. But basically, these are two different qualities. I knew they're cumulative. Another, oh yeah, there we go. German is origin, chocolate is material. Oops. So, thought I had a third example, but apparently I don't. So there you go. Rule number 16. Titles and degrees that follow a personal name. Basically, use commas to separate titles and degrees that follow a personal name. Ruth Walker, CEO, approved the revised budget. So this is a title. So that follows a personal name of Ruth Walker, therefore it's separated with commas. We spoke to Mr. Smith, PhD, about the situation. PhD is a degree, which follows a personal name, therefore it is separated with commas. Mrs. Anderson, Esquire, represented Mr. Smith in the cited case. Esquire is a title that follows a personal name, therefore is set off with commas. Junior and senior, which follow personal name. So do not separate junior and senior that follows a personal name with commas unless a person prefers it. Never separate a numerical designation, that's like third, fourth, fifth, that follows a personal name with commas. So the LMEG and the GRM say, do not separate junior and senior unless a person prefers it. But the BGGP and the GPO, this is a government printing office, do separate junior and senior. So if you want to follow the BGGP, you would separate junior and senior that follow person name with commas. The LMEG and the GRM do not separate unless a person prefers it. Of course, you'd have to know what a person prefers and ask them. Maybe you have a business card. Maybe you ask them during the deposition if they prefer the comma or not. And CMOS, because there's conflicting, I went to a third source. CMOS, the Chicago Manual Style, states commas are not required for junior and senior. It's not required. So it doesn't say you can't use it, but it says it's not required. So basically, it's confirming that either one of these rules, it's sort of whatever you want to do, but be consistent. So if in a transcript you start separating, I'd say if you had two juniors, you better, and you do it with one and not the other, you're going to lose the consistency aspect. So let's get to some examples. Robert Smith Sr. graduated from high school in 1956. If you're using the BGGP, you'd put commas around senior. Robert Smith Jr. graduated from high school in 1982. And then the BGGP, just put no commas. So the rule in the LMEG and the GRM is no commas unless the person prefers it. The BGGP, you put the commas. In this example, I say commas, the person prefers the commas. So Robert Smith Jr. graduated from high school in 1982. So this would be the same in the LMEG, the GRM, and the BGGP. Last example, Robert Smith III graduated from high school in 2011. So the rule is, and all the references agree, you do not put commas around a numerical designation. Numbered references. So rule number 17, use a comma or commas to separate numbered references of sections, pages, lines, etc. Then along with that, we capitalized the words act, book, chapter, exhibit, figure, part, section, and volume. But we do not capitalize line, note, there shouldn't be a colon here, line, note, page, sentence, or verse. If you look at this, this is how I memorize it. Everything with the page and below, so a page, a sentence, a line, a note, the note appears on a page, and a verse, these all appear on a page or below, are not capitalized. Everything above a page, a book, a section, a chapter, an act, these are above the page level, except for exhibit and figure, are capitalized. That's actually how I memorize it. So I memorize page and below, no capitalization, above the page, capitalization, with the exceptions of figures and exhibits. So some examples. The letter in question is Defendant's Exhibit A. So we have capitalization A in the between the numbered references. We separate numbered references with a comma, so between the numbered references, because this is a numbered reference, here it has an A. And 4, put a comma, page 4. Mr. Smith's testimony starts on page 5, line 10 of the deposition. So because it's page and below, or you can just look up here, page and line are not capitalized. You separate the number of references with a comma. Notice that there is a comma after line here. So if in the above example of this sentence continued, you put a comma here and then continue the sentence. The last one, the city ordinance, the witness quoted is Chapter 1, Section 108, Paragraph 3. So notice chapter is above the page, section is above the page. The paragraph is the page is below the page level, so no capitalization and commas between them. That's it for this video. Please subscribe. If you like the video, please hit like, and please buy the ebook.